Has anyone you've ever known been to jail? Have you? Well, if you have, you're part of the statistic that makes Oklahoma the highest incarceration rate in the entire world, including against our own country. And today, we're going to talk about providing a new plan that can reduce the amount of people that are incarcerated and get people the help that they need with drug treatment programs and rehabilitation programs that actually work and are not a revolving door. That is what we were going to talk about today. So first, I want to propose new ways to still have criminals pay for the crime, but also saving the citizens of Oklahoma their tax dollars. Number two, I want to prove how reducing our incarceration rate will help our communities, not hurt them, and to try and take the stigma out of incarceration. Now, I'm going to put that stigma on myself. I have been to jail, not for very long, and I've also been through drug court. I chose this topic because it's affected my life in a lot of ways, and I really truly believe that Oklahoma being the highest in the entire world is insane. It shouldn't be happening, and there's not enough happening in order to change it. So I really felt this was an important topic to go over. My own father just got out of prison last week, and that's just a biological father, to be honest, but it affects my life every day, and it affects our children's lives and children that we see every day. So why would Oklahoma have the highest incarceration rate in the world? Well, my theory is Governor Stitt is corrupt, and he's using the money and wrongly. I think that the reason why we have so many people in jail is literally a money pit. And I have seen that with my own eyes and been proven that in these rehabilitation programs where you are just a number and you're not a person, and all they want to do is get you through the steps that the state provides them, but they don't actually want to give you help. So all these girls do, or guys, whatever, is go in and out of these facilities, and they go in and out of jail, just going through the same motions because they're not being treated for the trauma that they have been through. That is where the problem is. If we take a look at our resource, which is the Tulsa World, which Jenny Graham talked about how Susan Sharp, a national expert on female incarceration and a professor at emeritus at University of Oklahoma, say women are collateral damage in the war on drugs. It also states her research shows that women in rural areas receive longer sentences, while those who can afford private attorneys get less time for the same crimes, end quote. So what can we do to change it? The policy I'm proposing Oklahoma to take into effect is to adopt California's rules, such as they halted prison admissions and enacted early releases for anyone 180 days or less to serve on their prison terms. Prison officials also authorized 12 weeks of credit for incarcerated people with no rule violations to expedite their early prison releases. But in addition, I would like to create a committee that could go over previously convicted people with maybe extremely high sentences that may not apply now, and have them review these cases and maybe reduce some sentences in nonviolent criminals that just needed treatment and not time, but were received a long sentence due to the statutes at the time when they broke the law. That, I think, will get women and children back together, where we can get mamas back to their babies and daddies back to their babies, because that is important. We have 96,000 different people go into Oklahoma jails every single year. Compared to the rest of the world, we put 993 out of every 100,000 people in jail. But the United States, for every 100,000 people that are in the United States, they only do 664. And that is off of prisonpolicy.org, and that is on their statistics. I just can't fathom that. I just can't. Can we imagine a world where we are just collecting people for money is beyond me. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. In order to make this happen, we would have to allocate funds for more probation officers, social workers, and increase drug programs and or rehabilitation programs, and not only size, but also with funds. I understand this would take more money, but If we reform these drug programs where these people are working, paying, like I did in my program that I went through, they will be paying back before they are allowed to be released from the probation. They have to pay back their restitution. They are required to go through several classes, and it is very strict. It is not like probation where you can just walk off and not do it and they don't care. It is very, very strict. That we need more oversight on these policies, and it's going to require money that they don't want to allocate to the right places. This brings me to my last point. How do we make them pay for the crime? At least morally, but without the time. Programs built to help them succeed but not fail. So there were a lot of problems with drug court. We would have a lot of issues with people not being able to find a job due to their charges, and that they are in court, and a lot of jobs don't want to deal with drug court's time restrictions, having to leave for court. I mean, there would have to be a lot of changes to make this a universal application, but I truly believe that simply taking our facilities and monitoring in jails, drug rehabilitation, regular rehabilitation, whatever, I think taking and making those more supervised with the funds of salaries is going to be the way that we can do it. All right. So we learned today how Oklahoma has the highest incarceration rate over the entire world, with a good percentage of those convictions being to poor women with drug possessions in rural counties. We talked about how California has shown the best option in prison and jail reform with the current policies due to the overcrowding during the pandemic. We talked about how putting more money into the drug treatment programs, but ultimately ensuring that patients are getting the benefits and help they need provided to them, which is not happening in most cases. In conclusion, we found that Oklahoma being the highest in incarceration has a lot to do with the current opiate and methamphetamine epidemics. I hope you have seen that putting the focus on the people and not the money is how we can make a difference in Oklahoma every single day. We can give the kids their parents back and taxpayers a little less of their money being wasted on people who need help and not prison.